These proteins, as you know, are catalysts. These are the enzymes or the nature's catalysts for designing experiments. What we thought is that all of this was just affected by the structure, so that it would influence how something came into it, how a substrate came into a cavity. What we've learned now is that there are electron transfers, and those electron transfers have to go down the prescribed chiral environment. So you could not have had this without having controlled that stereochemistry to begin with. The constraints get more difficult every year because we're learning more about the cell and the chemistry involved in the cell. So the constraints become harder. So the task...
And what's necessary to provide function then for all of these molecules.
Yes, and so the origin of life researcher is for any step forward that they think that they have made. They haven't made a single step forward. For every step forward they think they've made, there are many steps back every year as we understand more about the chemistry that is going to be needed for a living cell. And this nonsense, Steve, this nonsense that people say, well, cells were much simpler back then. No, this has already been computed by biophysicists, how simple a cell could be. What is the machinery?
Very important work on minimal complexity that's right. Established that minimally complex cell is awfully complex in ways that are quantifiable. I remember your comments remind me, Jim, of my last year doing PhD work on origin of life biology, and my supervisor had just come back from the ISOL conference. And she said, unfortunately, our field is becoming populated by cranks. Everyone in the field knows that everybody else's hypothesis doesn't work, but they're unwilling to admit it about their own. That was 1990, and things have only gotten much worse in the ensuing 30-some years. So I feel your pain. But in general, I think what you're saying is that these simulation experiments, they don't take sometimes the experimenters claim they're taking a hands-off approach, but they're actually taking a very hands-on approach at every step along the way. So in order to move the chemistry in a life-relevant direction, there has to be repeated interventions by intelligent agents to restrict the degrees of chemical freedom to move things along in a direction that's going to be relevant to the actual origin of life. Is that the general problem with these interventions?
Yes, that's the problem. For example, if you take Steve Benner's work, where he says he always uses a hands-off approach. First of all, when he has his hands-off approach, he gets billions of compounds mixed together. He will never use it. He will go on to the next step, having bought totally pure material, homochiral material. He will buy from a manufacturer that's isolated this from a cellular source. And so he cheats at every step. And then when he has to have hands-on chemistry, he relies on the hands-on chemistry of others. And so it's just a big cheat all along the way. And I've told him this to his face. I mean, this is what we're dealing with here. And in your little video
that we'll embed in this video or link to it of your lecture to the student group at Rice, you show an interesting scientific figure. Is it an NMR scan with lots of different peaks? What does that show? Is that making the point you're making now, that when you do these simple reactions, you get not just the thing you want, you get a whole bunch of things, as indicated by this NMR scan. Is that right? And it's totally useless, and he is able to identify ribose in that mixture, and so he claims ribose, and he goes on to the next step, having bought ribose. Why doesn't he just let it go forward naturally then, with all the compounds? They're going to interact, is that? They're going to interact. Yeah. You won't get what you want if you let that interaction take place. Not at all. Not at all, and he knows that. He knows that, and so he's a very smart chemist. That's why he circumvents the problem by buying the ribose off the shelf for the next phase. Is that yes, absolutely. Yeah. And this is Dave Farina's expert. So Dave Farina brings us on, and in many ways, Steve, Dave Farina is the victim. He is a victim of what these guys are putting out there. All of this goes back to the origin of life researchers themselves. It is not the press, it is the origin of life researchers themselves. They get on this YouTube channel and they talk about what they've got. Dave Farina buys into it because he cannot read the actual paper and make sense out of it. He doesn't know how to read the paper and make sense out of it, so he's deceived by this. And this happens to many people.
It's not just Dave Farina. The thing about Dave Farina is he's got a big audience. And so all I'm doing is I'm not coming against his audience at all. And in many ways, I'm saying poor Dave Farina. He's the victim. He buys into this so that when Benner says he's done hands-off chemistry and he's got these long nucleic acids, he's got this RNA that he said he has made. Dave can't assess this. He bought the precursors in highly pure form. He never made these precursors. No way. He says he made them. He never did. And then what he actually made, he never made RNA. It had both the 3,5 linkage and the 2,5, which means that it was hooked up the wrong way over and over again. And it even had branching. None of this could be usable. None of this. Steve Benner knows it. Steve knows it. But Dave Farina doesn't. And Dave Farina buys into this. The poor guy is a victim.
So the origin of life researchers overhype this stuff to the press and to others, and then people pick this up and then spread the hype, and then you come along and critique the overhyping of these things, and then you're the bad guy, right?
I'm the bad guy
you get criticized
for exposing this. I mean, even what Steve Benner did is when he says some things in his paper that are way overhyped, and then when he goes to the press, he says, and now we have a consistent model for how you can get Darwinian evolution. I mean, to go from the junk that he made, he didn't even make ribose. But then when he bought ribose, then he brought it on the next step, quoting hands-on chemistry. He didn't even use that. He ended up buying the entire nucleotides that have a triphosphate on there that are ready and preloaded to polymerize. That's what he bought. And then these were isolated from cellular sources, from something that was already living. He bought that, and then he got these things to string together, but in a way that could never work because the zipper wasn't zipped together right. He had the wrong connections here. And then he goes on to make these extrapolations and say that this is even shows how you can get Darwinian evolution. It's a bunch of nonsense. It's such nonsense that even Jack Szostak, who himself can hype a lot of things, said that Benner has gone with the hype rather than with the science. It's not just me saying this now. And Jack Szostak is one of the other experts that Dave Farina refers to. He doesn't even realize that Jack Szostak is contradicting the work that Dave's other expert, Benner, is doing. So Dave doesn't even have the perception to understand that his own experts are not agreeing with each other. In many ways, as they critique each other, they agree with me.
So yeah, that's very interesting. It's just as a dynamic in the discussion here. Can we go back a little bit because I know what Benner is trying to do is to produce an RNA molecule, and the reason that RNA is so important now is that there's been this chicken and egg problem that's been involved in origin of life research forever. The realization that you need information, which is stored today in a DNA molecule, to produce proteins, but you need proteins to process and express the information on the DNA. So you have this chicken and egg, which came first. And in the 1980s, it was thought that, well, maybe the RNA could help us solve the chicken and egg problem because RNA stores information, but it also catalyzes at least a few of the kinds of a few of the reactions that some protein molecules will catalyze. So maybe RNA could be the holy grail, the information storage molecule, and also at least some kind of a catalyst that would be analogous to what proteins do in modern cells. And so the idea was that we'd get RNA that could self-replicate, copy itself, have variations on that RNA. That's the reference to the Darwinian evolution getting going on a molecular level, and then we'd be off to the evolutionary races. So if we could just build RNA, we'd be in good shape. I think that was the sort of the background to all of this. And so Benner has weighed in and said, hey, I can do that. I can show, not with hands-on chemistry, I can show hands-off chemistry how to build RNA. And as I recall, there's three main parts in the RNA. There's the sugars, the phosphates, and the bases, just like in DNA. But you're saying he can't even get the sugars, let alone the bases hooked up in the right way. So tell us just a bit more about that now that I've given a little background.
So yes, you have to have the sugar, you have to have the ribose, and then you have to have the nucleobase. The nucleobases actually are pretty simple structures, and those can be gotten fairly simply. But now putting those on the ribose is not easy, and then hooking on a triphosphate is not easy. Very difficult chemistry to do this. Very hard to do this by hands-off chemistry. Even with hands-on chemistry, it's hard. But by hands-off, by what Benner says, he never did it. He says he does it with hands-off. He never did. He bought it. Why did he buy it? Because his hands-off chemistry doesn't
work.
It just doesn't work. And I'm the bad guy for saying
pointing
this.
that out. You are a bad guy, Jim.
And poor Dave Farina is the victim here. I mean, he's really the victim.
Is part of the reason, Jim, that it's so hard to get these molecules to produce life-relevant compounds is that there's so many ways to hook them up that there's more ways to go wrong than there are ways to go right. Is that the essential problem?
Yes, that is the problem because with the nucleotides you can have both the 3,5 linkage, which is what you want, but you can also have the 2,5 linkage, and that 2,5 linkage throws you off. In fact, the 2,5 linkage can
act
as
at an angle or something.
It's not the right orientation. Plus, it acts as something called siRNA, meaning small interfering RNA. It interferes with the whole translation process. So the thing shuts down because it forms these duplexes which are too sticky. So when you get the wrong attachment there, and you see this sort of thing. In fact, I got Dave Farina to come around and to, in his second video, and to confess that yes, you cannot get polycarbohydrates, you cannot get these polysaccharides unless you have enzymes. He says, I knew that all the time. That's what I meant in my first video. No, that's not what he said in his first video.
Stop press. That's a very important concession because enzymes in modern cells are built, they are proteins, and they are built with the information that's stored on DNA and transferred to RNA and through the ribosome and the whole protein synthesis process. So if you're relying in prebiotic chemistry on something that's only built by proteins, you're presupposing the existence of genetic information, the origin of which you have not explained.
Exactly. The origin of the information he doesn't even know. But he said that you can get these carbohydrates just keep hooking on to the end there. And then when I pointed out to him that there's all these different tentacles, these ways that you can do it, then he comes around in his next video. He says, yeah, but what I meant was that you couldn't do it until you first have enzymes. But what do you mean enzymes? Where did the enzymes get the information to hook these things together in the way that you want?
And if I may interrupt again, because this is even more, the more you talk about this, the more I realize how appalling these claims are, because the whole point of the RNA world was to build a self-replicating information storage molecule that could also function as a catalyst without enzymes and without DNA. So that we were going to circumvent the whole chicken and DNA protein chicken and egg problem by proposing an original synthesis of information-rich RNA molecules that could copy themselves and produce variants and get the evolutionary process going. But if you have to invoke enzymes to make the RNA world plausible, you have defeated the whole approach.
Well, in deference to Dave, he doesn't suggest that you need enzymes to make the RNA. He said you need enzymes to make the polycarbohydrates. But the same problem happens with RNA. You get the wrong type of attachment. If he's going to concede that you cannot make polycarbohydrates because there's too much variability in the coupling, if he's now conceded to that, which he did in his second series, in his second set of videos, if he concedes to that, why doesn't he have to concede to it with RNA as well? Because RNA can link by the 3,5 versus the 2,5. So if you're going to concede on the one, you have to concede on the other.
Because
you have the same problem.
The need for specificity in all these biopolymers is ubiquitous. It's everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any of the biopolymers, you have this need for specificity. You have to have the specificity. You can couple in these different ways. And if you're going to concede that you're going to have enzymes to make the polycarbohydrates, which Dave has conceded to, then why don't you have to have it also to make the polypeptides? Because the polypeptides, half of them have active side chains that if you don't watch those end up participating, and then you get things that are not your proteins
properly.
anymore
Yeah,
because
right.
you can get these opposite ways of attaching. That's the problem. You
Yep.
get these opposite ways of attaching. So if he's going to concede on the sugars, he has to concede on the RNA. If he has to concede on the RNA, he's going to have to concede on the peptides as well. But the poor man does not realize it. He's a victim because he believes what these guys say, and he's unable to read the papers to see what they really say. He's unable to discern them. And then he concedes with the carbohydrates, but he won't concede on anything else. But it's the same problem, the
It's
specificity
the same problem,
problem.
the specificity
Right.
problem. So